Cooperation with the Beatles is obviously the overarching consideration for most of the people who refuse to address my concerns. But there may be a few people who look over my work and think, well, it just keeps getting more complicated. There's nothing simple going on. Today, someone put up in TikTok an old speech of John Kennedy talking about undesirable characteristics of children who are fat and don't prosper in physical education. And of course, you're supposed to groan and go, oh, those old fashioned views. That shows what a moron and uh, biased individual JFK was. I'm not going to defend the remark, it was obnoxious, but to understand what's really happening with the catcalling from the margins of UW dialectical, where being fat is perilous, and refusal to kiss a fat ass is deadly mistake and error. And what they're doing and getting off with this clip from John Kennedy. You have to go back to 1979 when I hitchhiked from Pittsburgh to St. Louis to hear a musician who tortured me play music because I didn't realize he was the one who tortured me. This is a gimmick for the English rock stars to get people to commit genocide and get the victims of their genocide go, oh, I want your T-shirt. I want your T-shirt. Can I have your autograph? It's actually very much more simple than the many complexities in the case. This is a curveball, but it's central to the whole situation and how Muslims like Malala end up on the side of the psychopaths who are bombing Gaza while saying that they want to protect Gaza. I'll explain my comment. That's the point. I'm going to explain. It's going to be crystal clear and undeniable. Okay, I was outside the Arch in St. Louis where I had hitchhiked. The man came over to me and told me that something that sort of been fed the doctor when I was tortured as a child and left neurotrauma and ended up hitchhiking in panic from Pittsburgh to St. Louis. He told me if a woman wants to sleep with you, you have no right to say no. Even if she's really fat and appalling, you have to sleep with her. That's your moral obligation. He literally said that to me. Literally. And when you look at the crime that was committed by Seattle in Pittsburgh, it's very simple. Hollywood came in. They were using names like Kanton and Katowski. Hollywood came in and staged a seduction, a one-night stand with a woman from India who was, I was her subordinate in school. She was a student teacher and I was a library clerk. So she seduced me, and this created the parallel that you see in the Telltale clip where the Japanese girl comes and Sunak's with a black man who agrees to the exchange program, and it became a pussy bowl whip. And Patrick Buchanan said that Jimmy Curry to Jesse Jackson, Trumpy Tune went to Jesse Jackson and said, oh, the mighty swamis of Yoko Ono have declared that his estate belongs to the Muslim poor of the third world because he committed an adultery and could have saved John Lennon. And they use this as their cover story for Mount Desert Island, where a white Nazi set up a war game where if you want to live, if you don't give, if you want, you can trade your last penny for HIV negative status in the bank of Mick Jagger and Roger Waters. So what you see is the Pitt News archives of Lady Panther and Dixon. Then you have the Green Party poisoning me in the mouth in Seattle. And Will Zell's surrounding my name with positive and negative signs, and the Telltale clip, which at the end has a representation of all the girls I slept with holding watermelons aloft, holding the head of the queer bait from the list. You see, and then she smugly goes, "Oh, my chastity, ha ha ha." And she was the UN Peace Ambassador, Midori Goto. So what you see is Hollywood clocked the entire plan in a lucid and representation. A girl comes up, two girls come up, one of them's holding a ball, and one of them isn't holding a ball. And then a girl comes up and spreads her legs as she jumps off the diving board. And then Ringo Starr Mesmer comes up, closes the book, walks away. So each detail of the semi-arcs of the Telltale clip was represented by aliens from Seattle in their Pussy Ball war game as a mercenary code. Now, what I was doing at the time, I was in my 20s and had a lot of energy, and I was trying to get help, public information and warning out, and I was trying to get people to volunteer for the Hunger Project and Buckminster Fuller. But the black community said, wait, we want to conquer the Licky Chops Pussy Ball and get the AIDS genocide over and done with. Then, when you're an old man, we'll start giving you Parkinson's and saying, you better not complain that we made black market Sotheby's for Mick Jagger because there's all pores in Africa. And he goes up to Israel and bombs Gaza, ruthlessly exterminate, genocide, children, a whole tens of thousands, like as many tens of thousands as tons of mackerels washed up on the shores of Fukushima a few days ago. They're really looking after the earth, man. And Gaza is supposed to go, oh, but we have to go along with this because this woman was the whites. Sexual conquest. She seduced me. That matters nothing at all. This isn't about reality. This isn't about school procedures. This isn't about honors codes. This is about Seattle's criminal dementia. They say he is the white, and he exploited the black woman who laughed her ass off through the whole thing. She knew what was going on. It was Pocherelli's universe. It was all a setup, a con job. And this was perfectly obvious. But they can't back down from the Sotheby's line of the Ono woman who sent Mick Jagger to Tel Aviv to laugh because it's intellectual violence. Gail Burston appears in similitude on the cover of a record from 1979. Kills Lennon, they say, a year later. All the evidence shows that it was a con job from Palace Hollywood. And then says I had something to do with it. So Gaza says, bomb us, make us write bad checks. Bomb us, beat us, make us write bad checks, is what Matt Marcus used to scroll on the elevator. And they just laughed. Carnegie Mellon University just laughed. They put the whole thing together with Clint Eastwood and Hollywood as a pussy ball operation to obsess people, invade the privacy of the other because it's the white. It's the white. Never mind that I was tortured and used shamelessly in human trafficking. Gallaudet University doesn't care. Destiny Rescue doesn't care. The Jehovah's Witnesses doesn't care. Malala doesn't care. Greta Thunberg doesn't care. My mother doesn't care because they had it all set up as a storyline for a parallel universe that emerges as plastic reality, they call it. And they come they can think of nothing but this repeating the spinner beating psychosis of the whole thing. They were he insulted the black man. Give it to Muslim charities. Give it to the Muslim charities. Give what? The money you stole from me, they were ripping off Carnegie Mellon, Carnegie Museum for millions of dollars. Did anybody do anything about that? They gave him house arrest because he was a Jew, and they settled on the money represents $6 million. He's a Jew. There were 6 million Jews, so they don't know how much. It's an estimate, but it's an estimate that was specially chosen to show solidarity in the AIDS genocide. The Telltale clip, the archives from the Pit News match up. And all of it comes down to this weasel named Wilzo Brum, who said to me, "What would you think of a scheme to transform the human race by injecting the blood with semen?" when he was sitting in a table in a Poconos cafe in 1980, 1981, something like that. And the whole panorama of what was pulled by Brian Richmond and City of Pittsburgh was with a friend of his named Abira Ali, an Indian woman who grew up with Holocaust survivors. She was raised by Jewish Holocaust survivors. It's an indecent strategy of semiotic codification from a pornographic industry in Hollywood that uses the Star of David as a symbol of pornography genocide. In fact, when they released COVID, the pornographic system online, some people may know this because they might look at pornography, were the first people to respond with a sort of mimicry like super alert warning signal system. That's the reality of this so-called left Seattle left liberalism, is that they clocked a pussy ball war game, two versions pussy ball war game, to the AIDS attack that John Lennon called cleanup time, and gave all of the money to Keith Richards and Mick Jagger and said, "You'll be lucky if you don't get rippered over a penny like Shannon Harps was." And that's Seattle, Washington. That's their administration. ADMIN, admin of Seattle, Washington. That's their spinner meaning. They killed Circe Kennedy like this. In the name of Donnie Chin, same people killed Donnie Chin. And that's a very significant factor because they just bounce around. They say, oh, the black man, oh, Tupac Shakur. But behind it is Donald Trump and Kanye West. Donald Trump is the black man. And then you get people like Rob Proctor who come and say, the Hines family are honorary sacred, the African warriors. The Hines family are honorary, and Donald Trump is on, and Richard Nixon, because he appointed James, the man who led CORE, CORE, who wrote, you know what I'm talking about, the first black man in higher administration with Nixon. So Nixon is honorary sacred, the African warrior. And George Bush, do your history books. Do your history books. George Bush is a very important historian. He's an advocate for the black man. Look at Jack Kirby. John Kirby says, no, nobody is more preeminent in advocating for the people of Gaza, the good people of Gaza, than the Biden administration. Talk about smiling as you kill. The Biden administration for the good people of Gaza. Nobody is more advocate for the good people of Gaza. Look at Obama. He's a black man. He's the sacred Gazan, right? Isn't that right? Just ask Netanyahu. Netanyahu is the sacred, the African warrior. Just ask Rob Proctor. He'll show him with the mountain of swastikas. It's the truth. It's very simple. It was a one-night stand that was set up for the Congress of Pussy Ball Exchange.